It's even harder to smile when all you want to do is frown and cry.
Hi, I'm KetrianaYvonne, and welcome to the show. Today's guest is the Honorable Dr. Bob Lee from WBLS, the man with the voice and the Make the Grade Foundation and several books, and he's going to share his wisdom with us today. Thank you for coming, Dr. Bob. It's
Thanks.
a pleasure.
Thank you for the invite.
Yes. So, it's a pleasure to have.
I've known your family for a long time.
Yes,
now.
you
Your
feel
sister.
like family.
I'm your brother.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, usually I don't, usually I start my opening and say, oh, I met this person and give my little introduction. So this is my first time meeting Dr. Bob, but he feels like family because, like I told him, my sister is friends with him, and she met him a long time ago, and every story, every conversation is, Dr. Bob. And so I thank you for being a big part of my family's lives. And, she's like, oh, when my daughter, she's like, oh, I just told him when my daughter was little and how you encouraged her.
Yeah.
And so I thank you for that. And not only for that, but for the many children that you continue to touch. And there's so much to start with, but we know you have your foundation. We know that you're on the radio and you're directing things in the community. But I'm just going to let you start where it all began. And we'll start with how you got to be Dr. Bob.
Uh-oh. Well, it started off with something else other than DJing.
Mm-hmm.
I was into biology and chemistry, and I used to mix my own chemicals and see how this reacted with this. And in biology, I had a microscope. My father he was a doorman. Well, he was a Pullman porter.
Okay.
But then he worked as a doorman after he retired from that. And in that building, they had a doctor's office. So the doctor used to let him come in and straighten things out, at the end of the week. So sometimes we used to go and help him. And behind the door, there was this long doctor's robe. And he had a big black microscope. So I used to put that robe on and make some things under them. I'll start off with some saliva or, something. And I would just look at all of these amoeba or movable animals under a microscope. And I just became interested. I was like thrilled that, there was a whole nother world, a microscopic world that we were dealing with. So my father saw that I was intrigued and I was interested in that, and he brought me a microscope, and the doctor gave me his robe. So while in the house in Queensbridge projects, there's lots of things going on. Your friends want to go play basketball, football, whatever, and they would come and knock on your door. I would be in the house with that long robe on, looking under a microscope. So that's where I got the name Doc.
Okay.
Oh, look, he thinks he's a doctor. So it just carried all the way through, and I couldn't get rid of it. Even when I was taking classes to become a doctor, Wendy Williams said, you dropped the name, because I tried to take the doctor off of Bob Lee, and I was just using Bob Lee for a while. But I could never get rid of it. Everybody, hey, doctor. So she asked me why I was taking the doctor off of my name. So I told her I was working on a PhD at that time. So, but that's how it started. It started with that. Then I started mixing other things. I was doing football, basketball. I was into boxing. Where I boxed for the PAL, the Police Athletic League, amateur boxing in Queensbridge Community Center, the Jacob Reese Center, Lost Battalion Hall. Then I went into the Golden Gloves, and I thought I would become a pro. And my brother and I he was a better boxer than me, but we both, doing well, knocking people out. Well,
Okay.
it was an art. I don't condone boxing or violence or anything like that, but if somebody made a mistake, we would. So we learn how to mix things throughout life. And we learn how to discipline ourselves to do the things necessary to become successful. So when the question, whether to become a boxer or a professional athlete came up, I had to make a decision. Do I want to become a guy in music or DJing? So I took the easy way out. My sister always had all of these records around the house, and my mother was into playing music. So I fell in love. I got bit by the music bug, and here I am today.
Okay. So when you started out when you were DJing. So how do you feel like the industry has changed? Just give us some examples of from when you started and what's going on now, the pros
Yeah.
and the cons. And also, do you prefer like vinyl or digital?
Well, I like the vinyl. You know, I still have a lot. I have 6 decks of turntables in the garage that sometimes I get rid of this. It has the headphones in it and the mixer, and I just leave that there, and I'll get another one and leave that there and get tired of that one. But I stopped at I use the CDJs right now because it's easier to use, but I have one of those rain mixers.
Okay.
But I love vinyl. I have all of my vinyl. I have a wall of vinyl.
Okay.
You know, I have from when I was doing the weekend edition of the Quiet Storm all the way up to now. And when I started out doing disco all the way into rap, I played at the Fever. And when I got together with Mr. Magic at WBL, he said, "You ever been to the Fever?" I said, "Yeah, I played at the Fever before you guys started messing around." But I played at the Fever, and the guy by the name of Sal, he was the owner. So, yeah, we got together. Mr. Magic and I was called up by WBLS, and I started WBLS with my own van, and that was the first Juice Mobile. We called it the Juice Mobile. And if you look around now, all the other radio stations have these vehicles rolling through the streets. Well, we started that at WBLS. They were looking for a kid who can promote a radio station, and I was that kid out of Queensbridge. I used to write Frankie Crocker and send little messages up to him. In fact, I sent him the first rap for radio, but he thought it was a poem. He said, "This kid named Bobby Lee from Queensbridge, he wrote a poem. I'm going to read it right after they come out of these commercial breaks." And sure enough, we all gathered around the radio, and he came back and read it on the air as a poem. It was a rap about WBLS.
Okay. So do you remember it?
You're not going to have me say it now. But it's about clap your hands, everybody, to WBLS, and da-da-da-da, and some other words to it.
That sounds...
I'll just hit it like that.
Okay.
But then we started doing other raps, and rap started out pretty slow, but people were rapping way before the initial rap actually took place. But BLS was one of the first to play it with Mr. Magic and the Rap Attack.
Okay. So out of your vinyl collection, if you had one album that you don't have, what would that one be?
What, my favorite?
No, one that you would want to have in your collection that you don't have.
I think I have just about
everything.
Well, yeah, just about all of them, because I used to get the imports. I have a Michael Jackson 12-inch with the glove still in it.
Okay.
You know, and it's very expensive here today, but I took it and put it somewhere. Yeah, I took it out of that collection and put it somewhere else.
Okay.
But I was a guy that used to go around to all the record companies because my sister had these 45s, and on the bottom of the label was the address of the record company. Some were in California, but a lot were in New York City. So I started going around to these record companies. A lot of them didn't want to pay attention to you in the beginning, but you know, you go around enough times, say, "Oh, there's that kid again. All right, send him in." So they kind of began to know you, and you began to know them, and they started giving you these records. "Here, try this." So they used to give me 2 copies of each. So my collection just grew, and I started playing the music way before you heard it on radio, or way before you were able to get it at a record store. So I was known as a cat. "Oh, I remember Bob Lee played that." So you heard it first with me, and that's that's how my name started to grow.
And take us. You mentioned earlier that you used to announce in a phone booth.
Yeah, that was my way of broadcasting. You know, when WBLS first signed myself and Mr. Magic on, Marley Marl was one of my DJs, and I introduced Mr. Magic to Marley Marl. That's how you heard of Mr. Magic and Marley Marl together doing the Rap Attack. But yeah, I took another path. I was going out to different places because I gravitated toward the community. I love the studio, but I needed to be around people. I always wanted to be around people. And to this day, when you hear me go on the radio, I always have a group of people with me or behind me or hanging out, you know, the crew, Dr. Bob Lee of WBLS and the crew. So they used to give me a bag of change to go around and broadcast from the telephone booths. I knew where all the telephone booths were, the ones that worked. So I used to visit these schools in the morning, we called it the WBLS On Time program. And from that stemmed, of course, my Make the Grade Foundation for Education, because I found that, you know, there were some other things needed that I thought that we can do to enhance the edification of young minds. But yeah, we used to go around and broadcast from an actual telephone booth. Can you believe it? And I remember going to, there was a snowstorm, and we still wanted people to be on time because we figured, hey, if we can get out there early in the morning, you know, you can get out there and meet us too. So we went to this one particular school, it was in the Bronx, Kennedy High School in the Bronx. And I'm trying to take myself back now. Throw your foot out, slide it back, take that Motown step back. The whole school was out there. Everybody was on time that particular morning. You know, there was always a few people missing, but this whole school was there. And at that time, a school was a school, meaning to say you didn't have 3 and 4 different schools within that building. That, if it was Kennedy High School, that was Kennedy High School, and you had maybe 3,000 to 4,000 people in the school. Parents came out also. The administration was there. So we had a phone booth, like here's the entrance, right off to the left-hand side of that entrance. And I had, of course, the WBLS van, and I had a big sound system in there, big speakers in the back, and a big speaker facing out if you open up that sliding door. And it was in real time, no delay. So whatever you heard on the radio came straight out of that vehicle. So I dropped my money in the phone. The whole crowd was there. We told them they already knew what we were going to do because they hear it every morning. So we got Ken Webb on the line, and Ken Webb, you know, you've probably heard him, Ken, Spider, or Webb. He said, hey, all right, Bob, hold on, I got a contest. I'll be with you in a minute. I got a contest. I said, well, hold on. Everybody's anticipating going on the air. But there was a snowstorm going on, too, so we're being snowed on at the same time. So Ken comes back. He says, all right, let's go out to Dr. Bob Lee. Bob, what's going on? I said, Ken, we're out here live at Kennedy High School. The crowd is, of course, you can't even hear yourself because the crowd. We're here live at Kennedy High School, and everybody's on time this morning. We're in a snowstorm, but we're having fun. We're keeping it nice and warm. Hi, what's your name and what do you want to do? We always ask, what's your name and what do you want to do when you graduate?
Okay.
So that 9 times out of 10, if you said what you wanted to do to 3.5 to 4 million people on the air, you would follow that dream. And sure enough, years later, people came in, Bob, I remember what you said. Guess what? I'm on Wall Street. So we still feel that today. So after a group of kids came on, the principal comes on and talks about what the school is all about. You know, our school is famous for and we were hard on our kids because because we want them to be, you know, whatever they're going to say. But guess what? Guess who came on next? The operator. I'm sorry. Please deposit 10 cents for the next 5 minutes or your call will be interrupted. Thank you. This is a recording. And then Ken Webb came back and said, well, I guess the operator had to get their 10 cents worth. But all the kids were laid out on the ground laughing. I was the only one standing there holding that phone like this. If everybody had an iPhone back then, I'll be like, the look on my face would have probably wrecked the place. But it was funny. But then that's when the cell phones came out. They brought me up to the station. They said, we heard what you did on the air this morning. And we don't want that to happen again.
So what year was that? Because you had the
It
early
was early on.
edition.
I started at 81, 82. And whenever the cell phones came out, we were the first ones to get them. And it was a big, heavy cell phone. It was about 4 watts because there were not enough cell sites all over the place. You used to get a lot of drops back then. But the cell phone was 4 watts, so it can reach the cell site. Right now, these are 1.6 watts or something like that because there's so many cell sites all over the place. So just a little something, you know.
That could be, you know. So where's the booth? Do you have like a booth that they kept in the studio? Like,
a telephone booth?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. We should put together a museum and put a telephone booth up somewhere.
Yeah, because everything you're talking about is like history. And people don't notice. It's like yesterday I was having a conversation about New Edition, Mr. Telephone Man, and someone was saying, I never knew what they meant, like, can you interrupt the phone? Because most people don't know, like, you know, you had a busy signal, and you would call an operator, and the operator would interrupt the line. So, you know, you got to give all this background history to people.
A lot
and
of
then I
stuff
was
is-
like, you know who wrote that song? Do you know who wrote that song? You know who wrote that song?
Who wrote that song?
Ray
Mr.
Parker
Telephone Man?
Jr. Yeah, he wrote that.
Ain't that
So,
something?
yeah, so I was just talking about that yesterday. Now you talk about the phones and the telephone booth. Yeah, it needs to be just a...
And there was a song to this whole thing too. The kids used to sing the whole thing. Ken Webb used to put the greatest love of all, the greatest love of all, and he would turn down the music, and the kids were singing it, and then he brings the music back up. It was like amazing. And guess what? We met Whitney Houston backstage at Madison Square Garden. She said, "Hi, are you Dr. Bob Lee?" I said, "Yeah." And she started like, "Hey," and I started, "Hey, yeah." So I like what you guys are doing in the morning, and da-da-da-da. And then we became good friends.
Okay, good. So,
I cut to right to the chase. We became good friends.
yeah. So tell us, so you're still doing, so the foundation came out of that.
Yeah.
So in doing the community affairs for WBLS, and you're out and you're doing, like you just did an event for Martin Luther King Day, did I hear you
Yeah,
say?
we were way up in Albany.
Okay.
And -8-degree temperatures.
Well,
Whoa.
I was here in Brooklyn at BAM, and it was brutal.
It was brutal. Wasn't
So it was, and the funny thing about that, like, back in the day, it seemed like that was like normal weather, but you could stand it, like, because they didn't close the schools because you had snow. Because I remember lots of time we had 15 inches of snow, but you still went to school. There was no school closing. And I just saw a comedian the other day, and he was making a joke. Brooklyn Mike, he was saying, talking about like that how schools never close. Now I can't even remember the joke, but anyway, it was a good one.
Yeah.
It's just how times have changed, because now, it's almost like in North Carolina, you get like a little bit of snow, everything
You get
shuts
some
down.
rain and people are
But
spinning out in North
now
Carolina.
that's New York. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm shocked when they say they're closing,
You know what I can't figure out? We were little back then, but it seemed like the snow was deeper.
It was, I mean,
we were at least
it was more like,
over 3-4 feet, but
and that was regular, and it was
Yeah.
cold. And the wind chill factor, that was common, like
you're still
now.
out there playing in the
Yeah.
snow. Come up your feet and hands or ears ready to fall off and
Yeah,
everything.
and now
but you
you
had
hear,
fun.
but it's a different, I think it's changed now. Climate change, it's a whole different cold,
Yeah.
because we don't even get to minus, and, like you said, it was 8 degrees, and it may feel like minus 30.
It was cold.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said, "You trying to be cute out there?" Because I just had a jacket on. But they had a situation where I stayed at the Renaissance Hotel, right? But you can come out and walk through these tunnels, and usually they're heated. And you can walk and go all the way to the convention center.
Okay.
So I did that early in the morning, and it was all right. I said, okay, that wasn't that bad. It was like, whew. But on the way back, I think what I did was come past that, and I was talking on the phone, videotaping, and I went past the Renaissance Hotel, and
Oh,
I
my
kept going, and I said, wait a minute, I'm
Yeah.
going too far. What's going on? It was
Yeah,
cold.
it's
and
not
that's when you
time.
started realizing that -8-degree temperature. Hey, I'm in this tunnel too long. What's going on? And didn't have the heat on either. So yeah, it was cold.
Wow.
But anyway,
So,
we got warmed up, and I feel nice and warm in your studios right here.
it's a little chilly, but you got hot lights, but, it's still breezy.
You got hot lights and hot show.
Yeah. So we have an array of books, but we're not even going to get to the books yet. So tell us, okay, so you have your foundation, and it's been in existence since, tell us.
2004.
Okay.
We started in 2004. Thought about starting it way back in 1998 or something like that. But
The important thing is that you did start it, and it's in existence. And you have, so you have a jacket, MakeTheGradeFoundation.org, and you have an event that's every you just a couple of last month.
Yeah.
So tell us about the event and.
It's the gala to Make the Grade Awards, and we award a number of people in the community who are helping others make the grade, who are helping others get what they need out of life, and that's what's important, and that's what we're passionate about.
Are you familiar with an organization, No Kids Left Behind?
Yeah,
Kids Left
yeah.
in East New York.
Yeah.
Keith Watkins.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.
Was it Keith Watkins that won that $160-something million?
I don't know, but
Somebody in East New York won what 100? It was 200 and something, but he got. I think after they took out the taxes and everything, it was
What was this?
260
I don't
something
know.
million dollars. He was a truck driver. He was on TV. He was like, man, he quit his job already too. He said, I'm out of here.
That's a different guy. I don't want to get nobody in trouble.
That wasn't Keith Washington?
Oh no, Keith Watkins.
Watkins?
He has the No Kids Left Behind, and he actually, I grew up with him, and he has his foundation, and he's also the dean at the junior high school we went to. So
Well, the guy who won that money should give Keith Watkins some of that money for his foundation.
a big donation.
Yeah.
And he was also a DJ and a producer, and still. So actually, he has like a fish fry every month, and they have.
Wait a minute, I get an email on that.
Yeah, and a lot of DJs come and they do their thing, and so it's cool. And he's another person doing things in the community and making a difference, and having that dedication. And I guess because I happen to live in that area, and it's I'm glad to know that something and someone stayed and picked up the torch and carried it on.
But that's what it's going to take, a bunch of things happening the way they are in our community today and in our nation and in the world.
Right.
We need people with a lot of foundations and organizations and churches to come together, because we need to come together and move together in the same direction for a common cause. There's too much evil, too much negativity going on. People sensationalizing the news and all that. I mean, they're going to do that because they've got to get people to watch. But still, we need to come together and say, hey, this is the way to go. This is positive. This feels good. This is going to help educate our youth. And this is what we need to move together, in the same direction.
I mean, I was going to ask you like three words of, three things of wisdom, but I guess that would be one. But you can give us more, since you've been in the industry so long and you have a foundation. Just share like some more knowledge with us. I mean, I know you have your books, you have the daily doses and antidotes, and then you had to do a new edition. So you have a two-part, because he's done so much and he's ever growing. So he's just continuing to capture the wisdom in his books. And I'm not going to mention that there is another, well, I guess I am going to mention.
There is another one coming out. People You Should Know in Black History and Beyond. I got the final draft, but I still may do some things with the title and some little things in it. But I think I combed through it a couple of times, and I think it's a reference book, and it's going to be honoring or recognizing people from way back all the way up till now. It was going to be a total Black history book, but I said, there are a lot of other people doing some great things too that are contributing to society. And so I said, Black history and beyond. So you can put the Gandhis in there. You can put the woman from Afghanistan who got shot in the face, who's into education. And you can put the Bill Gates, who just contributed $5 million to the homeless. You can add those things. People doing great things, and then ordinary people doing extraordinary things. So we're going to have a section in there for people who are that you hear about, and a lot of the people in our area here in New York City, you'll see some of those people in there, and there are other people doing great things in Chicago and different places all across the country. So that's why this next book that's coming out is going to be volume 1.
Okay.
And I thought about just that book, but then I said, it can't stop there, because you'll have a reference book like this thick. So it has to be volume 1, 2, 3, 4, it may go a few before behind that also.
Yeah, it could be. I know they have the Black movement. There was a book that they put together, the former Black Panthers and people that were in the movement at the time. And it's a big reference book.
Yeah.
So almost like let's mention one of those words, telephone book.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like that size. And I bought it, but, it's all there, So that's like, while we're here, let us tell our story instead of letting someone else give the story that they didn't live.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that you're taking the time and sharing your knowledge and compiling this information from your perspective, because that's like an important thing. A lot of people come and go, but they don't leave the information. Like I had, for example, Queen of Four. She was on my show, and she has her books and she shared her information. But the person that taught her, that person, he didn't write anything down. So it's like, so it's important that you're doing that. And I guess
we have to continue to honor the heroes and sheroes who continue to make the grade.
Mm-hmm.
That's in there. That's in the fourth book.
Right. And 7 ways to make the grade. So tell us, what's the 7 ways to make the grade?
7 ways to make the grade. I came up, and it took a long time to write that book because I was never really happy with it, and I didn't really know how to organize the whole thing yet. So I was just writing and writing and writing. I was just spinning my wheels and writing. But basically, it started out as a autobiographical type of book. But I said, no, I don't want to do an autobiographic book right now. So this book right here is autobiographical, motivational, inspirational, educational type of book. So it starts off with a, small autobiography, and then it gets into some of the things that I came through, the chemistries and the biology and all that stuff, and some of the times where I almost didn't make it, because I'm not supposed to be here talking to you right now, but God stepped in and enabled me to continue this journey. So it has a few of those mishaps in there and how I got out of it, and then how I started to make the Grade Foundation, how I got involved with WBLS. We talk about family in there, how I started working with this wheelchair organization, Hank Carter, with the wheelchair charities, helping others get what they need out of life. And then it gets into the 7 ways that can help you make the grade after I start talking about what I've been through and how I got out of it and how you can do the same. So the 7 ways is it's like the part of my foundation's piece. 7 ways: parent, teacher, student, community, clergy, financial literacy, and health. 7 ways to make the grade using those things.
Okay.
And in that book also, you can find out about the significance of the number 7 in the Bible. So it gets pretty deep.
Okay.
It takes you to it and takes you through it. As I say on the radio, we're going to take you to it and take you through it.
Let me think for a minute. Well, yeah, and I get that. So that's interesting. I'm doing, I want to talk about it because I was actually had a publisher on like a year ago, and I was announcing, my challenge to finish my book. And sad to say, it's another year, but it's coming. And I had this concept, where a certain number of pages, and it's A to Z, like the beginning and the end. Yeah. And like when you open the Bible and it has different, for depression, different Psalms to read, whatever. So mine is sort of like, I'm saying the concept is that because I write poetry, but I write whatever it is, it ends with a message, a positive message that I'm saying.
That's what people need.
That
people
when
need
you pick
to
the book up, whatever your problem, it's going to have the answer. Now, can I prove that? I had a book like that once. And, you know, I said the same thing, like, but I think it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's your mind. So I'm saying it's going to work because that's the way it's going to be.
You said it's your mind. It's your mind. It's your mind.
Well, it's what you believe. It's what you believe, you know. So, like, if you're searching for an answer, well, I guess because I'm a person that's probably always been into, like, spirituality and metaphysics. And now
Mind, body, and
is,
spirit.
yes. And I actually have a friend and he wrote a book, and that was the title of it. And he taught, like, a class, and he had to give it a different title because he's actually a professor, and he was teaching it at the school, and he had to call it self-empowerment. But so it's interesting because that's what I'm interested in, and so, like, now we're in that time of a new awakening, and people are start to discover, you know, the spiritual part of themselves, and you know, so now it goes to you know, new marketing, you know, so you have, like, a lot of ways to be a publisher now. You have new avenues to basically for people to have the life they want to have. And this book says this, and another book's, you know, and people, I don't know. So for me, it's like a different thing, because if you've been on a journey for a while, and then it's like, okay, now it's like this new twist, and, you know, so I'm just at a different place. But it's good to be in the company of other people that, you know, share the same. You know, for the right reason. I'm not saying that people are wrong, but, you know, I think people just kind of sometimes it's the popular thing now, but you're not really in it, you know, for the right reason. So.
But you mentioned mind, and that just stuck with me because it's so true. You are in control. And a lot of people don't realize it because they're afraid, and that fright part comes in there. But if you know what's around the corner, you're not afraid anymore, and you can become more creative. So,
or, go ahead.
Yeah, so just find out what you want to do and then stick with it, because when you stick with something long enough, you asked me to do words of wisdom. When you stick with something long enough, something always happens, but make sure it's positive, because nobody can do it better than you.
Exactly.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you are the pilot of your plane. If you got up there in the plane, you would fly in that plane and said, "Oh, I forgot how to do this." And now where's that plane going to go? If nobody's flying that plane and you the pilot, what's going to happen here? So it is your mind. So whatever you think of, that's what you're going to become. Whatever you think of the most, whatever you're doing the most is what you're going to be the best at. But it's true. It's true. Whatever you want to do, you can do. All you have to do is think about it, because God gives you thousands of ideas to help you help incorporate what you want to do in life.
Right. And you don't have to worry about how you're going to do it. Just do it, and then everything else will just kind of fall in place.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and I always tell people, you know, you have to remember the challenges that you go through in life. If you make it through it, you know that whatever challenge you made it through, it led you to a different place that was, you know, you were a little wiser, you know, you learned something from that experience. So it's almost like, don't fear the things that are tough, because those are the things that help you grow.
Help you become tough.
Yeah. So it's almost like if you just stay where you are and I'm not going to take any challenges, then you probably won't have any problems, but it won't be that much change in your life. So even for me, I'm like, you know, I think 2019 was like one of those super duper crazy years. But I think in my life, it's always been, you know, years that I could say, oh, that was the best and the worst year of my life.
We know you meant last year.
Huh?
We know you meant last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
So, you know, but you make it through. And then, you know, you just have to, I just have my vision on, okay, it's going to be this way, it's going to be that way. I know it's going to be that way. Because you don't go through all the things the trials of life that you go through just to, you know, not to come out on top. You know, it's a reason for everything. And, you know, there are no mistakes. So, I just
Sometimes you just got to look in the mirror and say, why am I here? What's my purpose?
right.
Once you find out that purpose,
and it
your
does,
answer will come. You just got to ask for
and
it.
it does start with asking that question, and because I've had even for this show, like I didn't finish telling you, but I was like, yeah, no, it wasn't anything that. Like most people can say, oh yeah, I wanted to be a talk show host. I wanted to do this. And it just, I had made up my mind, oh, I don't want to work for anyone anymore. And I have worked so many different jobs, creative jobs like makeup and fashion. And, I'm an esthetician, I'm, a broker, all over the place. A life that I couldn't I don't think anyone's had a path that, because when,
You
usually,
touched off on a few things.
yeah. So
But
most
you like this.
well,
You're comfortable with this.
when I got to when I got to this, now I like to talk. That is for sure. But I realized that it was something else that when you wake up and something that always, no matter what, like you're here today, because I was like, okay, I'm trying to tell them a lesson. When you no, you showed up, so we're good. But it's like, from my experience, usually I know my guests and people recommend people, and I'm like, no, because, I really feel like spiritually I meet people. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I may not see them again, but I follow them. I follow everyone that's been on my show. And I'm like, because I already know they're going to be great. So, this is how strong I feel about the people that come on my show. It's like, I'm saying you're great, and I'll give them a timeline from 10, 20 years to be a legend. And I can say that from my belief, because I believe it, that maybe 80% of the people that have sat on this couch or another one,
This is the couch.
they will be great.
Gotta take this couch
they're
home with
doing
me.
great things. And, so I'm having people, I always tell people, come back, update people on what's been going on. Because, and some of it maybe just has to do with confidence. Because I'll talk someone into, because I had a cousin, she came on the show, she started African, she's from Nigeria, she started African head wrap and baby carrier business. And she
Baby
avoided,
carrier business.
well, how the African fabric and carry
Oh, yeah,
on your back. So I ran into her in the street, and I already know the story. Oh, all the excuses. And I'm like, no, I ran into you for a reason. And you have to come. And she came, and she was like, the crew came out. They was like, oh, she was such an interesting guest, and da-da-da-da. So, it's experiences like that for me. And like I said, I always talk about my crew because I love them. And just to have people that are here for the same reason, that show up for me. And so I'm just like, I know I'm supposed to be doing this because, people don't just, things always work. Like, we may have to go through, your little setups. I guess that's what most people do in a production. But it's like, it's never a problem. And the energy is always the best, and I just love my crew. So I thank you again.
Big up to the crew. The crew's in the house. Give the crew a big round of applause.
Yes.
Yes, show. To the beat, Joe. Here we
Y'all
go.
gonna get
Here we
your
go.
own
Here we
rap.
go.
Yeah, I like that. Just you could act like I'm Frankie Crocker, and you can make a poem or a rap for my crew.
Oh, we had a book of raps. We used to just go through it.
Yeah, so you can come up with one for me. And
Right now?
No, I'll give you time. So I want to know.
I can kick it right now for you.
Okay, well, give him 1, 2, 3.
No, but go ahead. You want to know what?
No, so I want to know because and when
I want to know.
when you
I want to know
know you.
what turns you on.
Okay, gotcha, Stella. So no, because everybody. I mean, I'm a busy person. I know you're busy. I know everyone's here is busy because we're just creative minds. So that's what you do. You go from one thing to another, and you make things happen. And so, how do you balance? Like, Okay, I just want to know. Okay, because you said you wrote. What period of time the books? The time period in between.
I don't even remember, but that book right there, 7 Ways to Make the Grade, took a long time. The others,
And that was the first one.
that was the first one.
Right.
I had some other things, essays, colleges, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I used to write for a magazine. I wrote for Amsterdam News. But that book right there was like the toughest because I was never really comfortable with it until I ironed everything out.
And that may
With
have been,
all of your running around, because you
Right.
can't just.
Yeah, and then if it's your first book, I think so. Like
Yeah.
when you did the other ones, it was
The
a
other
little
one, the
easier.
second one, took about a year. I knocked that out, and then the third one took about 6 to 8 months because I ran out of stuff with that one. And if you listen to me on the radio, I'm reading a lot of the stuff out of this book. Before I started doing the daily dose of quotes and anecdotes featuring words of wisdom to help you make the grade, I used to be on the computer or just people used to send me stuff, and I still read stuff that people send me, different quotes and everything like that. Skip Dillard, he's our program director. He tweets a lot of the quotes too. So sometimes I'll see something that I like from him, and I'll say, "Hey, Skip tweeted this, and this is
Okay.
from da 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 da, Maya Angelou or whoever," and I'll read that on the air.
Okay.
Or people will email me or text me a quote. But then I said, you know what? Let me just compile all this stuff and put it in a book. Not just quotes though. There's some great information before you start reaching the quotes. Like if I grab this right here. Like if you start with success, it'll give you a number of things in the category of success, and it won't just go into quotes right away, what that one does, but acceptance, forgiveness, change. That's quote
That's kinda
inspiration.
like- is it
Yeah, it's
called
quotes and there's different
Is
preparation.
it all in alphabetical order, like the words? Because that's what I'm doing.
Well,
No.
not really.
You just picked
yeah.
the categories. Okay.
Yeah, those categories. And it's based, of course, off of my 7 ways to make, my mission statement, 7 of the Make the Grade Foundation. Parent, teacher, student, community, clergy, financial literacy, and health. So we continue the 7 ways, and I added the Make the Grade in the 4th book also. People you should know in Black history and beyond, and the heroes and sheroes. I'm trying to remember the name because we just put this out. It just came out yesterday. It's not out. It's the final draft. Heroes and sheroes
Of Black history.
who make the grade.
Okay.
Heroes and sheroes you should know who make the grade. That's a subtitle. But yeah, so all of those things, financial literacy, that's the number 7, the 7th one. And then we get into health, spirituality, and so forth. So everything is in here. This is a great book to pick up. It's on
It
some
sounds
Barnes
like
and
it.
Nobles, iTunes,
So,
and Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah. Or you can go to makethegrade.org. and
Is it an
you can go
ebook available
Yes,
too?
yes.
Okay.
Did I put it right back?
That's fine. It didn't fall down.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Hopefully, I'll get to read your books. It's like I'm just trying to find time to read.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to. I find time to write like every day, but it's like as a poet, you go to things. Everybody's a poet.
Yeah.
They buy books, and I go to a lot of events, and I have a collection of books.
Yeah.
Stella, I know you're talking about me because she gave me a book and
Yeah.
she
Well,
read it.
Stella, you read it? Well, look, in everything that you do, you know how busy you are, right? You know you have all of
I'ma
these
get to
things.
it.
You got to say, I got this, I got this, I got to eliminate this, that, I got to do this, and you got to add a little piece in there for your reading.
Yeah, I
You
have
know,
to.
even if it's a half hour, you got to add that time in there for the things that's most important in your life.
Right.
You got to prioritize.
Yeah.
That's what I
You know,
tell a
I
lot of
used to
people when
write,
I
like,
do my
I
motivational speeches.
work and I walk to work. So everything's in the community.
Yeah.
And I used to read on the train. I don't take the train anymore. So that's like, knock that out. And so, so I'll do that. Because that really sounds interesting.
But there's different sections in this. See, I'm just going to read this section on spirituality. I'm going to read this section on health.
Would you read a little section of the book?
You want me to read a section of the book right now?
Yeah, can you do that?
I'll be
Just
doggone.
and not
All the way
anything
from South
particular. Just open
Kakalaki.
up the book and
Just open it up
just
anyway?
open it up as long as it's at the beginning, and just read that, because then that would be probably.
Oh, look, spirituality. You're into that. As a matter of fact, here, you hit
No,
it.
you read. No, you're the man
Okay,
with the
look.
voice. So.
All right. Well, I ad-lib better. But
Okay.
it says invest your spiritual development. Invest in your spiritual development. It says it reminds us that we are made up of spirit, soul, body, and we need to attend all three. Attend to all three. You have to get involved in yourself, mind, body, and spirit, to make it work. We must not be overly consumed with things in the natural realm, not overly consumed. And in Romans 8:6 it says, for to be carnally minded in death, but not to be spiritually minded in life and peace. I recommend reading the Bible and spending lots of time in prayer to help your spirit mature.
Yeah.
So that's just the spirit part, and that's just a thing that I opened up to right there. But that's just a summary of this whole section. But if you thumb through it, it has Barbara Bush in there, it has Denzel Washington, it has Joel Osteen, Chris Johnson, and that was Bob's 100 favorite quotes about spirituality. So it has some great things that you can get into. Now you open it up and read a section now. And that was just that's probably not even the best part that I opened up to, but I just opened it up and said, you know what?
No, that was the perfect part, because we touched on that, and that's what you opened it to.
Yeah.
So I'm going to trust that that's what we needed to hear.
Spirituality.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Watch out.
We opened up with our prayer, but you wasn't here for that. So that was your partaking in our.
You gonna throw a little prayer in there?
No, we had we opened with a prayer.
Oh.
But you wasn't here. So that's joining you.
That's great. Before we ever started, right? That's how you do it. You open up with a prayer.
Yes.
Get it out there, because God knows
Yeah.
what we're about ready
And
to
I
do.
do my part. And then I had another producer here today, and she just got her doctorates in divinity.
Congratulations. She's
So,
here today?
Yeah, so
Congratulations
that's Norma.
to you.
And so she
Norma?
So she was
Norma!
she was bringing it
She's
to
waving
us.
through the glass.
Yeah.
Wave your hands in the air. Wave 'em around like you just don't care, like a Ginger Rogers and a Fred Astaire. Let me hear you say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I guess you could just, we're not children, but you're used to like having a bunch of kids, and we can get a little noisy up in here too.
Yeah, I love to deal with lots of children. We put them on the radio. I like the way they get together. They say, hey, I'm going to put you guys on the radio. Wait, what? You are? When is it going to come on? We're going to put you on in a little while. Stand by. And everybody's anticipating going on the radio. On the radio to 3.5 to 4 million people on the Steve Harvey Morning Show. And they're waiting when they hear themselves. But they make all those phone calls. Mom, I'm going to be on the radio. They have everybody tune in, and it's like wonderful to see. The anticipation, the enthusiasm, and them wanting to learn more, because they want you to come back. You have to do a follow-up. You have to go back. All right, I'll tell you what, if you get good grades, I'm coming back, and I'm going to take you on a school tour to WBLS. You can shadow me for a day.
Wow.
And at the end of that shadow program at WBLS, or if I take them to Lawful or wherever, I treat them to some pizza and everything and send them back home. I said, we will see you again.
And they'll, that stays with them for the rest of their life. It's, I have a friend, actually she's the one that told me I should write, and she's a producer here, and we both started together. And she used to live in Chicago, and she was always talking about, she was in the studio, and one of her students, he came in with her, and to this day he's in radio, and how just that one visit changed and shaped his life. So, all of these things make a difference. And when we have people in the community that take the time, it's almost like a dedication. You're dedicating your life, and you're sacrificing your time for a greater good. But it's worth it, because every, even, myself, I think everyone probably has a story of that one person that sets even the people that come on the show, it's like they can always name that person that took the time to guided them or saw something in them that just made their life. Because if you didn't have that person, you know, you would just be drifting. And, you know, and that's what maybe happens to a lot of people. They don't have that one person, and you don't know where that person is going to come from. So, you know, I always encourage people to be that person. You know, when I wake up in the morning, it's like, you know, guide me, let me know who I'm supposed to see.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't know. It could be a small thing, you know, it's just, you just have to give of yourself and be there for people. And, you know, we go through life now. We got so much going on. We got cell phones. We got people that don't look up. They don't even talk to the people standing next to them, you know. It's just a crazy, different time, you know. So, like, when you talk about phone booths and, you know, but really you're taking us back to communication. And in this day and age, it's like,
You got to do it the best
you know,
way you can.
that's a whole different word, you know, because how can you, you have all of these things to connect people, but then, like, you know, we have cell phones, but then you have people that say, don't call me, just text me. You know, then you have people that they go out to eat and they don't, and everyone sits there on their phone. So, I mean, I think that word communication, we probably, well, need to focus on it a little bit more and connect because, you know, through time, if nothing changes, people will realize you need people. You need, you know, people need touch. People.
We need to get in people's faces and
need to
continue to go
touch.
like this and
Yes.
and look people in the eye. You know, when we talk about social media, the real social media is being out in the public.
Right.
That's social media. I'm out there with the people, shaking hands and kissing babies and asking questions and how's the family. You know, you're gonna text them. That's good. That's the way we're doing things today. But you know, give them a call and tell them you love them too.
Yes.
Or meet them on the corner. Hey, you want to meet for some coffee or something like that? You know, get out there.
Right. And, you know, I will keep people on the phone. And it's almost like, you know, where I start to feel bad. Because, you know, when you was growing up, like, you know, everyone had the person that they would get the phone call. And, oh, tell them I'm not here because they talk. You know, so I'm like, no, I'm not that person. You know, but I need to talk to people. You know, so I will call.
I can't talk to them right now. I only got 2 minutes to say hello, but they're going to keep me on for an hour. So everybody here experienced something like that. But, you know, when you have time to call them back, you say, hey, da-da-da-da, but you got to know how to get out of it. So, oh, I got this meeting I'm going to jump into, all right? Yeah, I'll talk to you. No, but wait a minute. They try to keep you on it, and you still got to try to get out of it.
But see, I'm talking about me now. So I'm that person. You know,
she's that person?
But in that, you know, I can say, I don't think when I talk to people, I ever get tired of talking to somebody.
There's love in everything that we do. Look, everybody here is different. You know, everybody in this room is different. Everybody that we meet is different. But the love comes in where you can understand everybody's individuality and personality.
Right.
You know, there's some things that you may not like about me, but there's some things that you love about me too. And the same thing with you.
Yeah. And most people, I use that term. It's like, oh, I may not like you, you know, but I love you, you know. And it's, but then it's about acceptance, accepting people.
Understanding
and
and respect, you know.
Yeah, you just have to.
Especially in the business that we're in, you know, we're dealing with so many people. You have to love and respect people for who they are. That's you. That's your individuality. That's your personality. And there's nobody else like you in the world. There's nobody like you.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, you know, you have to prepare before you get there. You know, you speak about learning lessons from people. My father was one of the greatest teachers. My boxing trainer, my coach, he was another one, you know, and he always taught us, you know, prepare before you get there. You have to prepare before you get there. If you went into a boxing match and didn't train, you didn't do the things necessary to become successful, you're up doo-doo's creek. So we always, even when I do my motivational speaking, or even when I'm DJing somewhere, I get a big party March 30th at Rochdale Village. You know, I'll put a few things together in my mind. I'll visualize that crowd. I say, this is what they meant. It may change when I see the people, because you DJing to the people, not what you personally like. But I learned the greatest lesson I ever learned in my life through boxing. I learned how to discipline myself to do the things necessary to become successful. I learned how to prepare before I got there, because there was a time where I didn't prepare, but I was still winning a lot of fights. I knew how to knock somebody out real quick, you know. But then when you didn't train, you get in there with somebody that, oh wow, he looks like a professional. And then the fright comes in, because the guy doesn't have the community center robe on. He has the professional looking stuff. He has the blue and white crushed velvet robe with the matching trunks. He's got some tassels in his boxing shoes. And he came in sweating. He's jumping up and down. He's ready to go. I came in there with my satin stuff, you know, from the amateur boxing look. So I turned to my trainer. I said, why am I fighting a professional? He said, oh, no, he's not a professional. He's just like you. I said, well, he looks like a professional. He said, man, just go in there and do your thing. But I knew in my mind I didn't train. I didn't run my 5 miles a day. I didn't hit the heavy bag. I didn't hit the speed bag. I didn't do my sit-ups and push-ups. I didn't spar.
All that's
I
going
just didn't
through
show
your
up
head.
because I knew I was going to win. So here comes the fight, right? I go out there. I say, all right, God, I'm going to need your help this time. Da, da, da. So first round, I'm doing good. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Bam, bam. I'm catching him. I see everything that's happening. He makes a move. I'm going off of mistakes. He throws a punch. He makes a mistake. I come across to the right hand. Boom. Catch him and drops him. Run back to my corner. So I got him. I turn around. He gets back up. First round happened like that. Second round, I started getting tired. And he saw that I was getting tired. And so we just battled toe-to-toe. I said, well, I better stop moving around. We're just going to go toe-to-toe in the middle of the round. So third round, I couldn't hold up my arms anymore. He decides to throw this big punch from Africa or Alaska somewhere. I saw it coming. I couldn't move. My mind said, you better duck. My body said, I can't. We didn't train. It reminded me of the things I didn't do. And here comes this punch. Bam! And I looked down to see if I was on the ground there, and I wasn't on the canvas.
He hit you again.
You got the time? I wasn't on the canvas. So I said, well, wait a minute. I must be still standing. So I looked up, and there's 3 people there in front of me trying to beat me. So I said, you know what? I better just start throwing punches. And here I'm just throwing punches until the end of this third. We fought 3 rounds back then. I was just throwing and throwing. He hit me, I hit him, until that person became one person again. And that was the hardest fight I ever fought in my life. You know why? Because I didn't prepare before I got there. So in all things that we do, there's going to be some things that are just going to show up that you're not going to be prepared for. But if you, for the most part, if you are prepared before you get there, you have a better chance of getting that knockout or winning the fight, whatever you're fighting.
Well, I guess that punch was worth that wisdom to share today.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.
In these evil and troubled times, it's really hard to see the sunshine. It's even harder to smile when all you want to do is frown and cry. I know times is hard, but you still got to clean up your backyard. You got more strength than you know. Sometimes it gets lost in the overflow.